ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 1, text number 8. And this is Sukha Goswami explaining, or rather answering to the question of Parikshit Maharaj, who has asked how was it possible for King Priyavrata, who was a great devotee and always in the thoughts of God, that he took to royal duties and took to family life. So this was his doubt, because he said that somebody who is absorbed in thoughts of God cannot function materially or become materially attached, because mind is only one, and if it is fixed on God, then it cannot take care of the worldly affairs. This was his question, and Sukadeva Goswami, he answered that yes, you are right, it is a fact, but sometimes it is possible that person, because of his previous offenses or offenses in this life, may become obstructed, or it is by will of the Lord. Lord himself wants a great devotee to function in the material world so that he can teach to others how one should live. Just as we have plays, so in the play the actors take certain role, and at least the Indian plays were only for education. The plays were devised to give education through entertainment. Lord Brahma himself, as we were reading yesterday, he wrote this big book, Arthashastra, Niti Shastra, and that. So he also gave dramas, and he said that we use this to give knowledge to humanity. He may not listen otherwise. So these stories are actually enacted to teach us how to lead life in this material world. So God sometimes does that He puts the great devotees, realized people into material life, who may look like ordinary people, but they are very elevated, so that others can take such a person as an ideal. Obviously, such a person will not engage in gross material pleasures. So then he was explaining that Priyavrata, this boy, right from his childhood, he was fully devoted to Krishna and had no interest in childish activities. And then he retired and went to the Himalayas and lived there. And therefore his younger brother was put on the throne after the father Manu gave up his duties. And there Priyavrata was living with the full determination to lead rest of his life as a recluse and just remaining absorbed in thoughts of God, remembering his activities, chanting his names and so on. So when he was thinking like this and his teacher Narada was present, then his father came to request him that he please take the royal duties, because by now this younger son has also retired. He ruled for a long period of time. So maybe 150 million years. So at that time he came and Priyavrata refused him, although it was not proper for him to refuse his father's request. So that when that happened, then Brahma, who is very much interested that the world continues, he himself descended. And that's what is being described here. Sa tatra tatra gagantale udupatiriva vimanavali anupatham amar parivriddhi avipujyaman patipati cha varuthasha siddha gandharva sadhyacharana muniganairupagiyaman gandhamadana dronim abhasyanam sasarva. So when Brahma came down, he appeared just like a moon in the sky because he was very effulgent. And he was surrounded by many planes. So just like if the President of United States is going in this plane, then he may have some security planes around him. So like that, Brahma was coming down with his helicopter, and then many other planes around him. So it looked like a moon surrounded by stars. And on the way, when he was coming down at different places, he was worshipped, because there are many planetary systems and there's life everywhere. It's not only that life on the earth, but it's in a subtle manner. So all the chief of these places, they worshipped him. Amar parivriddhaira vipujyamana. These people who are amara, they have very long life. Amara literally means immortal, but it means long life. Everybody dies here in the material world. So on the way, coming down from Satyaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Mahaloka, and then Swarloka, Bhurloka, and various divisions of the Swarlokas, Gandharva, Charanas, Siddhas, Apsaras. So all these people, Sadhya, they were all worshipping him, and some of them were actually also accompanying him. So he came with a big entourage. And many sages also were following him and singing his glories, because Brahma is the father of all these great sages. So at that time he appeared into the valley of Gandhamadana. Gandhamadana is a place in Himalaya near Badrinath. It's called Flower Valley. It's a valley which has such wonderful flowers that actually if human beings go there then fall unconscious. So they even put a board up to a certain extent human beings are allowed, beyond that it's forbidden to go because you will become unconscious and then you will die there. It's golden. So these flowers they bloom after the rains in September, October, that is the time. Then it's too cold there. So even the Sanskrit word is actually Gandha Madana. Gandha means fragrance and Madana means maddening. The word maddening comes from Madana only. Means so fragrant that it's maddening. I think it's the most amazing flower valley in the world. So that's where Priyavrat was. And he came there and the whole valley became effulgent, Bhasyan, Upsasarpa. So the commentary is that Bhutalam prati tasya avatarane shobhamaha. It says the beauty of Brahma while he is descending on earth is being described here. Sa Brahma parivriddhair mukhyai. That Brahma was being worshipped by all the heads of various places. Kidrishai vimananam avlir yesham. And they were all in aeroplanes. So aeroplanes exist in the higher planets. So these days there's a lot of talk about aliens. So here also in Bhagavatam it is described. Tatra hava enam devarasim hansayanena pitram bhagvantam hiranyagarbham pulavamana sahasai utthaya arhanena saha pita putrabhyam avaita anjalir upataste. So at that time when he came, Narada was also there, and Narada is also son of Brahma. So when Narada suddenly saw that his father has come, and Brahma's aeroplane is in the shape of a swan, so it's called Hansayana, like Lufthansa. So it's probably the original Lufthansa airline coming from Brahma. It's called Hansayana. So he came with his special aeroplane in the form of swan. Hansa means swan. So when Narada saw, he immediately recognized that this is Brahma's aeroplane. So he suddenly stood up, seeing his father, and he worshipped him. He was in great respect to his father. And the son and father, because Priyavrata was there and Priyavrata's father Manu happens to be there, so they also stood there with folded hands to Brahma. Hanshayanopalakshanena pita putrabhyam Manu Priyavrtabhyam. So it says that even before he saw Brahma, he saw the plane and he could recognize. Therefore he immediately stood up. Bhagavanapi Bharata tadupunita arhana suktavakena atitaramudita ganganavatarasya jaya priyavratam adi purushastam sadaya sahasa loketi hovaja. So at that time Brahma, he was worshipped by Narada with beautiful prayers, and they probably offered him some flowers, which is a custom in India. You honor with flowers, garlands. So there was not much time because he suddenly came. So Punita Arhana Sukta Vakena just spoke Atitaram Udita Ganagana Avatar Sujaya. So his glories, they were described in wonderful words. And when Brahma had been thus worshipped, he looked towards Priyavrata with great compassion and spoke to him as follows. So he did not waste much time, at least according to this description. He didn't ask them anything, that how are you, or what is going on, or anything. He just on his mission. So Jiva Goswami says in Tattva Sandarbha that scriptures, they describe, give knowledge in three ways: like a king, like a friend, and like a sweetheart. So Brahma here is speaking like a king, no messing around, direct. Because the Vedas speak like that. Puranas are supposed to speak like a friend, and Sahitya like a girlfriend. So he is the original teacher of the Vedas, so he also speaks, but he is compassionately looking at Priyavrata. So the commentary says that Tada Naradastatra Priyavratam Upadishati. So at that time, Narada, he was speaking with Priyavrata when he came. So basically Narada was taking a class of Priyavrata and teaching him about devotion, and Brahma interrupted because he knew that if Priyavrata listens too much to this Narada, there is no chance. So he was very quick. He was late by a few minutes. Then Priyavrata will close his eyes and sit down. You cannot move him. Because we earlier said that he was about to take Diksha. In Brahma Satra, Dikshishimana, he has not taken it yet. And once he takes it, then what can he do? He has taken a vow, now he cannot force someone to change his vow. So he interfered before that. Before the Diksha was happening, he spoiled it. Narada was like about to give him the mantras. Manustam netum agato asti iti game. And Manu had come there to fetch Priyavrata for kingdom. This is to be understood. So Narada and Priyavrata were already there in the Himalayas. And then Manu came and asked him that please come, and he refused. And he continued listening to Narada. So that's when Brahma appeared there. Bhagavan Brahma api Priyavratam uvacha. So Brahma also spoke to Priyavrata. Tair Narad Manu Priyavratairu Upanitam Arhanam Yasmaisa. So after he was respected, or he was honored by Narada, Manu and Priyavrata, then he spoke. Udito Varnito Gungan Sva Prajasu Vatsalyadis Tataiva Hetur Avatar. So they described his good character, that how he is very affectionate to his subjects, and being affectionate on his children, that's why he has come here now, because Manu is his son. Satyalokad Avtaranam Tataiva Sujaya Atyutkarsha Yasa. So he has come from Satyaloka. This is the highest planet in this world, and this is his glory. Sadaya iti. So he starts speaking, which is described in the next verse onwards, but he was looking at Priyavrata in a very affectionate manner. But obviously, if he wants Priyavrata to listen to him, then being kind, smiling. So that's what he was. So he explained the meaning of his smile. That what was the smile? When great people like Brahma, they smile, then it is very mysterious. They have certain meaning behind that smile. They don't smile for nothing. They are not participating in laughing yoga. So they don't have any such problems. So asya abhivanchit bhakti jnana vairagyanam aham eva pratibandhako abhuvam. So he says that I have become an obstacle in his bhakti, jnana and vairagya, in his devotion, in his knowledge of the Absolute and in his renunciation, because he is going to convince him to take to the royal duties. So he says that it is Priyavrat's desire not to do that, but follow the path of bhakti and remain renounced, but I am becoming a blockage to that. Tad garaste api yasya bhaktir vardhantam iti ashirvinjati. So his smile is as a blessing that even when he becomes a family man, his devotion will not diminish but it will increase, as if he was blessing him by smiling. In other words, by his smile he was saying that don't worry, don't think that you will be like other family people who get lost in their family life and forget spiritual life. You will not be like that. Even while continuing your family duties, your devotion to God is not going to diminish, rather it will increase. That was the significance. Sadaya iti. That's why it was compassion. Sadaya avloka. Aham rajyam na karomi iti tava praudhi. Tvam aham rajyam karyami iti mama praudhi. Tatpat tatra pashyamah kasya adya praudhi tishtati. Nitre naptri priyavrate sahasa avalokasya yasya. So he said that your assertion is that you will not rule. You don't want to be the king. That is your conviction. The word called praudhi in Sanskrit means like when someone forces something on somebody. In Hindi we call it dadagiri. I don't know what is the proper word for this in English. Like bossism. When somebody bosses around, that is called praudhi in Sanskrit. So he says that your praudhi, that your bossism is that I will not rule. Who the hell are you? And he says that my bossism is that I will make you rule. So let's see whose bossism will survive. That's why he was smiling. That is another meaning. So he says that there are two words used here, sadaya hasavaloka, that when he looked at him, his looks had two sentiments. One was a sentiment of compassion and other was a sentiment of bossing. So by his looks he was blessing him that don't worry, and by his looks he was telling him that don't think that you are going to win over me. This is what he was indicating. So Priyavrate Sahasa Avlokasya. This was the significance of his intensive look. You can imagine Brahma looking. Brahma has 4 heads. So he is all concentrated. So now he speaks. This is what he said. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Lord said, Lord Brahma said, Nibodhatate damamritam bravimi masuyitum devamarhasya prameyam Vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir Vaham sarve vivashaya sadishtam. So he is using a very nice logic, you can say, or technique. So intelligent people are those who can get their work done from others. That's what we were reading yesterday, the duties of the kings. He has to know a lot of niti, how to make other people function and without feeling that they are being oppressed. One is that you can lord over others and make people do things, but then these people are not happy and they may revolt anytime. Other is to convince them so that they feel that yes, what this person is saying is actually right and I must know this. So then there is no feeling of oppression or feeling of revolt against such an authority. So this is the best way, and this is what Niti is all about. So previously kings in India, they were trained in such Niti. This is called Niti. I don't know what is the proper term, politics?
That's all the English word.
Yeah, but maybe it still does not convey the... Because the literal meaning of Niti is something which makes you achieve your goal. That's the word Niti means.
And another word that's used is strategic planning.
Strategic maneuvering.
Yeah.
So what he is saying, what Brahma is saying is that he is not saying that I am ordering you. He is saying that, my dear child, because Priyavrat is actually his grandson. So he is calling him Tata. Tata is a very affectionate word in Sanskrit. Even Krishna sometimes calls Arjuna as Tata. Tata is also used for father. And Tata is also used for a small child. So he says, Nibodha Tata idam amritam brahmin. He says, I am speaking to you nectar. Please listen to me. And ma suyatam devam arhasi. And it is not proper to find fault, not in him, in God. He says, please do not try to find fault in God who is immeasurable. He says, I myself, Shiva, your father Manu is standing here, and this Devarshi Narada, they are all standing. He says, we are all following the order of the Supreme Lord without any choice. We are under his control. So in other words, he's saying that I am not asking you to do something as if I am a boss and you are a servant. He says, I am also following somebody's order and I am just passing his order to you. And who are you? You are saying that you are a devotee. But after all, he wanted to be absorbed in thoughts of God. He says, I am giving you the order of that God only, on whom you meditate, whom you worship. So now what Priyavrat can say? Because Brahma is son of God himself. He is born from God Vishnu. And he is saying that I am telling you the order of your Supreme Lord, who is also my Lord, who is the Lord of Shiva, who is Lord of Narada, who is your Guru, who is Lord of your father. So if you follow him, no one is going to say that you are wrong. Narada will not say, well, why you follow him? Because Narada is also devotee of the same God. And Manu, of course, is not going to complain, he came for this only. Manu is a devotee of Lord. So therefore, this is the way. Our practical example is that if we want people to cooperate, either it is in one's own family or in a state or over the world, this cooperation, peace, world peace, very attractive word these days. It is only possible if we follow God. Because God is the only point at which we can all surrender, we can all listen, we can all accept. Otherwise, why I have to follow you or why you have to follow me? Why shall I not follow my mind and you follow your mind? But since God is only one, please that everybody accept, that is another thing, that what he is called and who is he. But ultimately he is only one. So just today I read one message that they have discovered one Bible which is 1200-year-old in Turkey. And in this Bible it is written that Jesus has predicted about Muhammad.
He had predicted what?
About Muhammad. That Muhammad will come and he will be the Messiah. So Pope has asked to get a copy of this Bible and see. There was some Saint Brasbani or somebody who was disciple of Jesus. It seems it is written by him. So by reading this, I was reading the comments, so many comments from Muslims, and they are so happy. And some of them are completely saying, see, Jesus was not a Messiah. He is not God, and you people don't listen. Allah is the only God, and Muhammad is the last Messiah, he is the only Messiah. So this is another problem. This is one's own ego problem, because I follow Allah, so everybody has to follow that, otherwise we kill him. So this is where all the roads meet. And they say that all roads lead to Rome. So in India, people very much hanker for Ram Rajya, kingdom of Lord Ram. Now they are saying that Ram Rajya is not possible, Rome Rajya is coming, because Sonia Gandhi. So he says, forget about Ram Rajya, Rome Rajya. So he says, Sarve Vivasha Yasya Dishtam. He says, we all follow his Dishta, his Agya, his direction. Dishta means direction. So don't try to find fault that what will I do in kingdom and this will happen, that will happen. He says, just do what God says. And if he is saying, what is the problem? So in other words, if we have an authority, bona fide authority, realized authority, then you follow even if you don't understand things properly, because they are not going to exploit you. God has no reason to exploit. He is working for everyone's welfare. This is what Brahma is saying here in this verse. So there is commentary here. It says, Pravritti nishtham mad vakyam svayasayam matva mai asuya makritha bhopriyavrata. So this Mahasuyatam can be applied to the Lord or to Brahma, both ways. So he is applying it to Brahma. He says that because I am going to ask you to engage into the worldly affairs, which is not tolerable to you because you are renounced and you don't want to get into the kingdom or anything like this. So thinking that I am going to speak to you, don't become upset with me. Don't be angry at me. Oh Priyavrata. Why is that? Why shall I not become upset with you? Because you are asking me to do something. He says, Aham tu tvat prabhorevadhin. He says, I am also under the order of your Lord. I am also just following the order of the Lord, who is also your Lord. So I am not trying to lord over you. Tasya eva vipretam vachmi. I am only speaking what Lord wants. That's all. So this is also people utilize, they also misuse this when they want you to do something and you don't listen and say, well, he said it to me. So then he bent down. So Brahma says that, so Brahma of course is not exploiting or anything, he is speaking the truth. This is God's will, as we also read earlier that either such things happen because of some obstacle or because Lord's will. So in case of Priyavrata, it is Lord's will, he wanted Priyavrata to be born. Nibodha swabuddhya eva idam paramisha. So Nibodha means deliberate. He says, what I am saying is you consider it with your intelligence. I am also not forcing it that you have to do it. But think what I am saying and then take proper action. Just as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vimrishyayata daseshena yathaiksi tatha kuru. Now I have spoken all this to you. I have answered your questions. Now you churn it over, Vimrishya. And then do what you like to do, what you think is proper. So Brahma is also saying, Nibodha, that know this and consider with your intelligence. He Tata iti naham tam shatru vyatvam dukhyami. And he is calling him Tata. As I said, Tata is used very affectionately. So that indicates that Brahma says that I am not your enemy. I have not come here to put you in trouble. So don't think like that. That is the significance of the word Tata. Ritam satyam eva natu tvam ahem prataryam. And Nibodha tatam idam amritam bravimi. He says, I am speaking this truth to you, which means that I am not deceiving you. Don't think that I am tricking you. I am just speaking the truth for your good. Bravimi iti aham brahma natu swapita eva aham api pramani kartavya iti bhava. And he is saying that I am speaking the truth. The word bravimi is taking every word and showing the significance. Because one is the literal meaning of the word and there is meaning which is behind the word. And this is the beauty of Sanskrit, that the real meaning is conveyed beyond the literal meaning. Literal meaning is there, but that says something more. So when he says, I am speaking this to you, it signifies that don't ask me what is your authority. So this is Brahma speaking, and Brahma is an authority himself. He says, like your father, you may ask him that, why are you asking me? What is the proof of this? That you are right and I am wrong. He says, don't say that to me. Because Brahma speaking is as good as Vedas speaking. Kim satyam tatraha vayamiti. So what is that reality? Then he says, Bhavo Rudropi, Bhavo means Shiva, Te Tava, Tatas Tatopi, and your father Manu, Maharshi Nardoyam Tav Guru, and this says Narada standing here, who is your teacher. Vayam Yasya Dishtam Agyam Eva Vaham. So we are all following the order of that Supreme Lord, God. Sakhalu yasmai yasmai hirda yad yad adishati tathaiv cheshtate iti tad agya eva tvam ham rajya pravartayami iti bhava. So he says that he is the one who inspires people what is to be done. He is situated in everyone's heart, and therefore I am only informing you what is his order, and that is that you should become the king. So one may say, Priyavrat may say, well, he is also inspiring me from inside, but I should not. So why is that I have to listen to you? So he says, Yam Ham sarvatmana bhaje sa prabhureva mam sansara sindho nimajyati iti swasht devepi dosadarshi mam bhuritya. So he says that because Brahma is more linked to him especially in the affairs of the world. So for that reason he says that I know him what he wants. And please do not try to see any fault in him, in the Lord. Don't think that I am worshipping the Lord with my full heart, with full devotion, and what is he doing? He is putting me into the material world. But this is also the tendency of neophyte spiritualists, beginners. Something wrong happens, then they say, well, God, why God is doing this to me? And if he knows better than God, and God is making a mistake. No, we should have faith. Such statements come due to lack of faith. When we feel superior to God, and we think, ultimately it implies that God is ignorant and I know better. So we are only thinking in a very limited circle. Our mind can function in a very limited range. And we make our decisions, our thought processes in that limited area. We see our good and bad. But God has a complete picture. So something which looks good to you now in your limited thinking may be ultimately bad for you. So that has to be seen. If you draw a line on earth, it looks a straight line, right? But actually if you see the whole earth, it is round or elliptical, it cannot be straight. So from somebody else's vision, it is not a straight line. He can say, no, it is not a straight line, and you will fight with him. How do you say it is not a straight line? It is a straight line. But from his vision, it is not a straight line. So who is right? So God has the complete picture. Therefore, we should accept what he is saying. Our thoughts, our rationality is very limited. Our vision is very limited. We can only see this much. Aprameyam pramatum ashakyam. So therefore he uses a word for God as aprameyam, that he is immeasurable. And we are very limited in comparison to him. So if we try to encompass his personality in our little mind, it is not possible. We can understand certain things about him. Certain things are just beyond our grasp. We don't know why he is doing this. And why is he doing this to me actually? So kamapi sansare pravartya sigram uddharati kamapi vane prasthapya no uddharati iti kastasya charitam veda iti bhava. So he says that God is having character like this, that he can put some people in the material situation and still liberate him very quickly. And he can put some people in the renounced state, maybe living in a hut in the forest alone, no involvement in the world, and still that person may spend few lifetimes like this. So he says, we cannot judge what he is trying to do. That's why we have to have faith in him. That is the meaning of faith. Faith means I accept. Although I don't understand, I don't realize it, but I accept. So that is when we have this understanding and we have faith, this is reasonable faith. It is not a blind faith. If we understand God is unlimited, omniscient, then we can have faith that he can do things which are beyond my understanding. So there is nothing wrong with such faith. So then he continues, he says, Natasya kaschit tapsa vidyava na yoga viryena manishayava navai artha dharmai paratah svatova kritam vihantum tanubhrid vibhuyat. He says that it is not possible to change what God wants to do or what He has done by any amount of penances, scholarship, power of yoga, or one's own intellect, or by wealth, or following the principles of dharma, by one's own strength or by others. He says it is not possible for any human being to do that. That's the meaning of God. If we could undo what He has done by our own strength, then we become more powerful than God. So what He wants to do, no one can change it. So he says, therefore it is His will that you become king. So sometimes we should learn to accept certain situations in our life. Otherwise we remain disturbed and angry or frustrated inside. Because somebody has done something to us, and for the rest of our life we keep this fire burning in our heart, whinging. So we should learn to accept that this is how it has to happen. It is my karma, it is God's will. And then just get it out of the head. Be peaceful and continue the life. So sometimes people spend all their life just because somebody did something, now they have to take revenge. They forget everything else. And after taking revenge, then what happens? Nothing. So he said, therefore he says, Nachatra swahatham rakshitum atmanas tapo vidya yoga balam pradarsitavyam iti ahaneti. So he says, therefore, don't try to be obstinate and just to protect your pride. Don't think that you are very powerful and you will engage in tapasya, or you are very learned, or you have some yogic powers. And I don't care. It says these things are nothing in comparison to God. Tasya kritam tena nirmitam tapa adibhir vihantum annitha kartam tanubhrid jivo na vibhuyat na prabhavit. Says it is not possible for any living being to undo what God has done by any means of tapasya, austerities and so on. Nanu tadvara mam rajya prabhu pravarteti yatha tatha maharshi dvara mam rajyat pravrajyati cheti kimatra nishchinomi iti chet buddhi balena mam parmeshwaram vijagisasva ityah manishayama. So now he raises a question that through you the Lord is telling me I should take to the kingdom. Through my Guru, Lord is telling me I should not take to the kingdom. So how do I decide? So you think I should use my intelligence and make a decision, and this way try to conquer Lord by my intelligence? So he says, no, it is not possible. Tena ubhyamapi bhagavad adishtam matva rajyam kurvan eva tatra anashaktya pravrijyam api kurvati bhava. So then what is to be done? He says you do both. Because your Guru is telling to remain renounced, and I am asking you to take to kingdom. And your Guru is inspired by God, and I am also inspired by God. So what is to be done? He says you become the king but remain renounced as a king. So you follow me? And this is what God wants. This is the solution. And this is what actually Priyavrata did. That he did become king and he ruled for a very long time, but he was very detached. न च यथेष्ट द्रव्य दानतः स्वप्रति मूर्ति कल्पनेन राज्यं चिकीर्षस्व नापि इमाम विपदम बहुधर्मैर बलवदाश्रयेण वा स्वबाहुबलेन वा उत्तीर्यते. So he says that it is not possible that you can become a king by engaging in some rituals or giving charity, etc. Nor it is that by taking shelter of dharma you can avoid it. It says nothing is possible. It is ordained for you to rule, therefore you rule like this. And in fact, not only for him, he is giving a general principle that no living being can transgress the law of the Lord. That is the instruction given by Brahma. We'll stop here. If there is any question on this.
J'ai une question. Tu peux la traduire, s'il te plaît? Oui. Moi, j'ai entendu que la foi, c'est l'acceptation. Maintenant, je me dis, face à la peur qui est contraire de l'amour et contraire de la foi, pour moi, j'utilise le courage. Est-ce que le courage a la même racine que la foi? Oh là là, tu me traduis ça? Allez. Doucement. J'ai entendu que la foi, que l'acceptation, c'est la foi.
Like she heard that acceptation is fate. She heard that to accept it is fate. You said something like that.
Et là maintenant, face à la peur humaine, comme je l'ai dit, et que je comprends que la peur c'est contraire de la foi.
So from what you're saying, she hears that fear is opposite to faith. She thinks.
Oui, je pense ça que la peur.
Fear is opposite to faith.
Oui, c'est contraire de l'amour et de la foi.
Opposite to faith and love.
Oui. Okay. Alors moi j'utilise le courage. Est-ce que le courage c'est une forme de foi? Okay. C'est la même racine.
So when she's facing fears, she uses courage. She connects with courage. She's asking if courage is same thing as faith. In this case.
Fate is that which creates a situation for him. Is he saying fate or faith?
Faith. Like faith.
C'est la foi.
F-A-T-E.
F-A, no, F-A, like faith, F-A-I-T-H.
Okay. Yes, courage is faith. Okay, I was thinking fate.
No.
Just.
Yes. Yes, my dear.
En sanskrit, je vais savoir le sanskrit.
In Sanskrit?
In sanskrit, la racine.
It's the same root?
Shraddha.
Shraddha.
Sanskrit
And courage.
Courage.
She was asking in Sanskrit, it's like courage in Sanskrit and faith had the same root.
No. C'est dedans.
But if courage can also be one's pride, but as a devotee, because we have Shraddha in God, so then we have courage.
I have a question. Lately there was someone from like a guru that has fallen down from his position, and he was he wrote a letter to his followers like okay, I retire, I'm going to live my life, this is Krishna's will, you know. So but when I read that, I had really a feeling that he's not at all taking responsibility for his action. He's just putting that in the hands of, like if it was Krishna's will. So I was, you know, them.
Yeah, this is the thing. You see, when in this philosophy can always be misused. If you want to do that, that's why sincerity is very important. If he is sincere in that, in saying it, that it is Krishna's will.
For me, it sounded like easy because he's not apologizing. You know what I mean?
But if he's just making this as a armor to protect himself, so that he doesn't get criticized or no one attacks him.
Maybe ultimately it is, but then the
That's
way
what I'm
he's-
saying. It
yeah.
depends if he's sincerely saying it or he's just using this as a technique.
Sometimes we're faced with situations where we have to make a decision. Now, in the case of Priyabrata, it was easy because both of his guru and Brahma both were speaking the will of the Lord, so it was not so difficult to combine it. But sometimes in our life we have to make decisions and we really do not know exactly if there are contradictory aspects or different ways. Then it's very difficult to really see what is the will of the Lord.
Yeah, so that's why we are reading these stories, so that we can get educated, that we learn how to make judgments in such situations. It's in the idea. Because there is no standard answer to any particular situation. One has to judge personally. One has the ability to do that. Or one has to take help.
Sometimes I wish that just God or Krishna would just, I ask him, just tell me what I should do, but I don't hear anything.
You have to keep on saying this. Sishyaste ham sadimam tvam prapanna. You should chant this sloka like a japa. Arpanya dosha upasvabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. Sishyaste ham sadimam tvam prapannam. So repeat this sincerely, and then he will reply.
Okay, need to be patient.
You want to know. You want.
Is there any significance in the fact that this fifth canto is mostly prose, you said? But when Brahma speaks, it comes in verse?
I don't know really what is the significance of this. Suddenly why prose has come. There must be some significance.
You said that God has like the overview and he can see like more than me or us. And
Is that right or is that wrong?
I think it's right. But the question is, does he never make mistakes? No. It's just
From our perspective, it may seem he makes mistake. Because making mistake also to be understood what it means. So we have our own material desires. And we want material happiness, material satisfaction, material relations, good material comfortable situation. So from our point of view, he may be making mistake. But from his point of view, because as you said that he has overview, he has complete picture, and he is looking for your ultimate welfare. Which means that what is going to make you happy ultimately, not that you are happy for a short period and then you are in trouble again. So he doesn't work like that. Unless you really pray for this very much, then like not really happy to give it, he may give. But he sees that what is the use of such a thing. Like sometimes children, they press their parents to buy something and the father is saying that it is useless. But just to make them satisfied, they may do that. But parents think of better welfare of the child. Child cannot see more parents can see. So he's like that.
Yeah, but maybe parents make sometimes mistakes, but it's okay. Krishna is something.
Just an example, obviously he's not like parents completely. He's more than that. Just to give an example that parents have, at least it is expected that they have a better vision than a little baby, who is only because of the senses, I want to eat this, I want this, because he doesn't think beyond senses. Alright, thank you.
So then you could pick the glass and this has to move to this screw or something. Yeah, it's just a screw on there.
पंडित जी आप जियो में हैं? आप 1 मिनट आ सकते हैं? क्या कर रहे हैं? हाँ हाँ ठीक है, हाँ आइए। वो उनका चश्मा टूट गया, मालती नाथ जी। हाँ ठीक है, आइए। So maybe I don't know if there is a shop opposite this one, maybe not. Instead, because shops are open until 8:30 if he goes now. Because we cannot fix it. The glasses are very cheap in India. I doubt, I think that they must have this thing, but if they don't have. Yeah, but of course the size has to be small, but they have small glasses.
The only the shape only doesn't really matter, but the
No, they have to put these glasses on.
oh,
Put it, but let's see if they can fix it, it's fine. But I remember one other case that they couldn't fix it. I mean, I'm saying that we can also have cheaper glasses.
yeah. Yeah,
Whatever, let's see now he comes, if they can repair it, it's fine. वो बिना चश्मा तो काम नहीं कर सकते। और
क्या हुआ?
वो ये तो एक स्क्रू शायद और ग्लास इसमें है।
ग्लास है ऐसा?
हाँ ग्लास है सारा है।
स्क्रू खुला है?
स्क्रू खो गया।
खो गया?
it just here, I don't know.
Maybe
I
they
didn't
can
hear
find
it.
it.
How it happened?
नहीं कोई बात नहीं, स्क्रू गिर जाएगा।
Suddenly the glass fell down. I didn't do
हाँ
anything.
गिर जाएगा।
He said they will find another.
नहीं वो दूसरा
लेकिन
गिर
अभी
जाएगा।
अभी जा सकते हैं या?
आप बताओ जरूरी है तुम्हें अभी जाओ?
अभी चला जाए, उसको दिखाई नहीं देता।
हाँ, क्योंकि अगर बाय चांस नहीं हो सकता तब
नहीं, हो जाएगा, क्यों नहीं
हो
होगा?
जाएगा। हाँ ठीक
स्क्रू है ना, अगर जो यहाँ से टूट जाता तब तो दूसरा काम चाहिए।
So we can
तो
go.
स्क्रू
इसको उनके साथ में कोई काम
नहीं यहाँ नहीं है, वो तुम्हें ही जाना पड़ेगा, नहीं बजाएगा।
नहीं बजाना, इतना दूर जाना।
हाँ।
क्योंकि अगर कल जाएंगे मतलब तब अभी काम नहीं करेंगे, सुबह भी नहीं कर सकते हैं और
I don't think.
अलग अलग
ज़्यादा नंबर होगा ना? No, this big number. This small. हाँ भूल गया मैं उसको। अब जाना कुछ
ध्यान से जाना,
ध्यान से।
सड़क होता है अंधकार में। See the food has come over.
ये है महाराज की 22,290 थे, तो हमने 90 छोड़ दिए। चलो महाराज जी का है ये, मेरे पास आप 300 रुपये देंगे, ठीक, 2,500। माता जी की पर्ची माता जी को दे देंगे।
उसके गेट का क्या होगा? चौखट,
दोनों चौखट और दोनों एक छोटा सा जंगला और एक बड़े वाले बहुत भारी प्रभु कहेंगे। यासीन को तोड़वाए के नहीं है वहाँ, कटवाए के वहाँ पहुँचवा के गया मैं संग। या छुड़ा पकड़ के ले गया मैं सुखनंदन के। वे दोनों छोटे बड़े लगे रिक्शा, मैंने यासीन जाए कर दे यार, चुप ऐसी का इमरजेंसी। अरे महाराज जी को, और मैंने सुन 3 जंगला बनाने तो 2.5-3 के शायद के, और जल्दी भी चाहिए उनमें, और मैंने कि ज़्यादा हैवी ना चाहिए हमें। वे तो दान में जा रहे हैं जी, तो देखो खैर हल्के बना दूंगा मैं तो, मगर वो टाइम तो चाहिए। ये माता जी की चौखट पर ही है, ये गुलाई में मेरे प्राणों में खाई है कि नहीं। तो मैं पहले तुम्हारे लिए बने बनाए देख लेता हूँ, 3 वहाँ मिल जाएंगी शायद भी, तुम आज ही चाहें वहाँ पे पागल बाबा पे एक वो है कोई टाल वाला है ना, मुझे हल्के साइज में तैयार रखते हैं कुछ, वहाँ ते लाए अपनी अर्जेंट दे देना। मेरे पास में टाइम भी लगेगा, हल्के तो फिर मैं भी बना दूँगा, 1.5 इंची में बन जाएगा। हल्की वहाँ में सरिया पत्ती लग जाएगी, और टाइम लगेगा मेरे यहाँ तो कम से कम मुझे 3-4 दिन चाहिए। नहीं बनने तो छोड़ दिया बीच में वो तो करे अभी लाओ हमारे का भी। हाँ तो कल आ जाओ तुम, कल देखो भाई एंगल के फ्रेम में मिल जाएंगे।
तो गेट वेट पसंद आ गया उनको?
नहीं अब शाम को कोई मिला नहीं हमें वहाँ, हम तो रख के आ गए। उनका वो लड़का था, मैंने गेट खोल दे, अंदर ने रख चले, ईंटन की चट्टा पे लगाया है, आई जाएगा पसंद का है। वो ने एक गाटर वो एक गेट अटका है, वो ने हल्का है ना, और क्या है उसमें चौखट अटका है, वो 7 बारी अटकाई, वो हल्की है 1.5 इंची में, और दूसरी बारी चौखट तुम्हारी को है भी, अगर वो 6.5 फुट की है। मैंने चले यार जे काट दी और का जितना 6 इंच बड़ी है, एक ही जगह लग रही है, तो साथ से छोटी बड़ी कुछ फर्क पड़ा। खामा काम में ना तुम्हारे काम में आ रही हो, ना मेरे में आवे कुछ।
तो महाराज जी भी नहीं थे
तो अंदर चले गए, जब इंटरनेट गिनती कर रहे तब तक थे। कहा कह रहे प्रभु जी सुनो, चलो ना मैंने, हाँ एक या कमरा में कम से कम 1,00,000 रुपया तो लग ही जाएंगे। कैसे लग जाएंगे उन्हें महाराज जी?
50,000 की तो ईंटें आ गई।
मैंने ईंट नहीं पता है कितने की है गई, कितने की है गई, मैंने 50 की है गई, ये 45 की तो ईंटें है गई। अरे ना मैं कहा कि 3,000 की है, मैंने कि 5-7 हज़ार को तो हमने फ़ायदा कर लिया है कि हमने डायरेक्ट ले लेंगे, नहीं 3.5 की मिलती तो मैं तो नहीं सोच रहा 1,00,000 रुपया हम तैयार हो जाएगा। कैसे जाओ, ये मेटेरियल तुम्हारा सब अलग है।
50,000 तो लेबर भी कम से कम।
अब 50,000 तो मिस्त्री ले ले वो बनाए में।
मैं तो कह रहा
मैं तो यही सोच रहा था
कुछ है नहीं है, वो
लाख
बनाया
रुपया
जाएगा।
में तो हो ही जाएगा ये। और पूरी जाते भी बड़ा एरिया बनना हो,
अरे बहुत बड़ा,
पीछे कमरा है, बरामदा हो, फिर पीछे वो है, क्या नाम है,
इतना बड़ा तो उसका अपना भी नहीं है जिसमें खुद रहते हैं।
नहीं वो तो बहुत छोटा।
इतना बड़ा
ऐसे तो शायद डबल से और एक्स्ट्रा पड़ेगा वो।
हाँ, बड़ा है।
2 कमरा है, नीचे 2 है ना, वे ऊपर दिन एक ही बनाया हो। फिर वो यहाँ में तो आगे तो ईंट कमती आएंगी, कैसे जी जाली है ना ऊपर, ऐसी जाली लगवाएंगे हम।
यहाँ तो जाली में पैसा नहीं लगेगा।
हाँ।
जाली का मुकदमा चाहिए।
जाली को बता रहा फिर भी 60 रुपये किलो बना के दे रहा हो यासीन अब। नहीं तो हम ना दे रहे, बची वही तेर का जाएंगे लेने ना। वो तो आज के देंगे तो आज के रेट लगेंगे, बाद में देते तो बाद में के लगते। वो तुम भली रखो उनने, महंगी हैगी ये 5-7 रुपये की।
हाँ, मेरे सिर पर लाद दिए फालतू। पता नहीं काहे के कौन विद्यार्थी साला आके रहने वाला नहीं है। एक को मिल गया है मुश्किल से, इसका कुछ पता नहीं कब चला जाएंगे, 2 रहेंगे, 3 रहेंगे, पड़े रहेंगे, कोई नहीं देखूंगा मैं, कोई नहीं रहेगा। कौन रहता है इसमें?
बूढ़ी जंगला है जो ज़्यादा वजन का चला गया, नहीं तो महाराज जी को कितने दिन और रुकना है अभी, ऊपर जाना पड़ेगा। हमें वहाँ 50-100 साल तक को इंतजाम थोड़ी
3
करना।
लाख तो कम से कम मान के चलो इसमें,
हाँ
उससे कम में नहीं पड़ेगा।
वो तो मैं हिसाब बता दूँ, इतना माल लग जाएगा उसमें। अभी गाटर पत्थर चाहिए,
टमाटर पत्थर में लगेगा,
जंगलाएँ, चौखटें और वे का नाम है, फिर उनके पल्लाएँ, फिर रंग पेंट है,
50,000 की तो ईंट आ गई।
जाली है। अब ये तो जो करे, अब तो ये बहुत है ना, कमती भर्ती होगी तो पीछे बताएंगे फिर। महाराज जी तो बहुत ईंट हैं अभी, इनने कहाँ लगाएंगे तुम?
फालतू में इतनी जल्दी, पता नहीं काहे को इतनी जल्दी हो रही है।
ईंट लगेंगी नहीं फिर बूझी में ईंट इतनी, क्योंकि फिर इतना बीच है वो जाली को उठवा लाएंगे हम आते ईंट।
और इतनी जाली काहे को लगानी है, जरूरी है इतनी जाली?
वो नीचे लग रही है, ऐसी बनानी है। नीचे 2 साइड में है, सामने है और एक साइड में इधर के बाद पढ़ने के लिए जाते हैं ना, और जीना पहुंच गया उन पर छत तक। सोई मैं तो भाई ना कह रहे हो ना, मन की बात उनके हिसाब देख के मैंने कहा यार सर मैं तो सब रही घेर के नाम देखे
वही मेरे को तो सब पहले
जे ऐसी जाली है जे तुम्हें पूरे कोई हिसाब लग रहा है यहाँ तक।
ये 3 में भी बनेगा नहीं।
3 में नहीं बनेगा।
बाथरूम में फिर टाइल लगेंगी, सीट आएगी प्लम्बिंग का,
फिर फर्श चाहिए, दोनों तीनों तरफ प्लास्टर, फिर रंग पेंट, जाली वाली कम से कम 4 मान के चलो, 4 साढ़े 4 पैसा लगे, महंगा है सब कुछ। और लाख रुपया कमाने चाहिए।
इसके कलर का रास्ता नहीं, ये अब नीचे पहुंचाना है।
अच्छा
ये पूरा यार मैंने बाबा जी से पूछा हिंदी में ही है।
हेलो, राधे राधे। ऐसे एक विदेशी इधर जो मालिश लेना चाहते हैं आपसे, आपके पास टाइम है लगभग, या जैसे मेरे ट्रीटमेंट के बाद लगभग 11 बजे? दूसरे अपॉइंटमेंट, हाँ 12 बजे हो सकता है? ठीक है। और मेरे लिए आप लोग आएंगे 10 बजे? ठीक है, हाँ धन्यवाद। ठीक है, राधे राधे। तब मैं 12 बजे रखूँगी। हाँ, राधे राधे। राधे राधे। 12, 10:30.
have to very fast. Really fast.
I don't have.
Not dirty one. Not dirty one. I'm going to work out. I'm going to take care of this, all blankets, everything, get together. Which one is dirty? I'm sending to cleaning.
No, her bedsheets were not clean?
That sheet is okay,
Yeah.
but only
But
for
the
my
rest in
times.
the cupboard, no, doesn't?
No.
Is Mukesh here or? Because he will know where the.
Tomorrow I'm going to take care. And see, he's very clever. Babaji said to him, just give all the information about the rooms. He gave the only empty rooms information. Not he gave me 36, 35, 39, which room is people already there. Because, yeah, so I want to know how many rooms people, how many there. Because, see, if he give 4 rooms, 1 room money coins are 700 rupees. He done this in the temple area. He done because you are here, so he not do maybe here, but he's everybody connected with him. So you and Babaji said to me, yes, you tell me how to do.
Is Arun here?
Arun said, I said to Babaji, you have to ask me how many rooms is empty, how many rooms is empty. Then I go carry the Mukesh and move it back to the room. He gave me wrong.